You quickly touched on fasting there, and it sounds like it's not a tool you're a big fan of unless you're grossly overweight. Is that include intermittent fasting, or are you just talking about longer fasts?
Yeah, I'm not a fan of longer fasts, I guess because I work a lot in the world of women. I mean, we do have men in our club, but we have a lot of women in the club. And my experience has been that women, over time, at some point in their life, if not for most of their adult life or teenage life, have had a bad relationship with food. And fasting for them is the sort of yin and yang of eating disorder behavior that they have had at some point. So it might be overeating, and then you cut back the next day to compensate. I did it. I mean, why am I saying they? I can say, I did this as a teenager. If I ate too much one day, I would try to eat less the next day. Doing that through college as well. So this whole sort of, I'm not going to eat for a couple of days. It's got connotations with a lot of people. It feels like a punishment. It feels, oh, you overindulge, you greedy pig kind of thing. You've got to cut back, and get sort of, beat yourself up. It's not a good, it doesn't have good associations for a lot of people, particularly women, and definitely anyone who's had an eating disorder. So I also think it gets the body into a bit of a starvation mode. So I actually think you can achieve similar results to fasting on a ketogenic intake, but you're not starving the body. So you're still giving the body the fat and protein that it wants for all those basal metabolic requirements. You're just not giving it the carbohydrate on top that it didn't need for energy, because actually you want to force it to use body fat for energy. So you can still eat a decent amount and say, I kind of view it as you've got those basal metabolic rate calories for free. The body wants those. It wants those to do all of its activities. And actually, if you don't eat those, the body is probably going to switch off some of those activities. So, what happens when women have an eating disorder? The first thing that goes is the reproductive system. Your periods just stop. It turns off the heating system. You get cold. If you're anorexic, you get a sort of fine body hair that grows over. That's your body's way of compensating to keep you warm because it's turned off the heating system. The lymphatic drainage system is not so good. So you get this sort of puffy carb face, even though you're not actually eating very much. Turns off the skeletal system. You're not going to be building bone density if you're a teenage anorexic. You're not going to be repairing cells or doing body weight. The body just, this idea that you just cut back by a certain number of calories and the body goes, oh, there you go, I'm a cash machine for fat. You wanted to lose some weight. There it is, exactly 500 calories. That was the deficit you created. Body doesn't. It just turns off the systems to the tune of 500 calories. So I think give your body what it needs to keep it healthy, and then really watch how much, particularly carbohydrate, you're giving it on top of that, but also don't go mad on fat. So, no, not a fan of fasting for even a day, a 24-hour period. What I am a fan of is the overnight fast. So, ideally, we should be finishing dinner as early as possible, and having breakfast or whatever your first meal of the day is as late as possible. So the evenings we're not out socializing. Like tonight, I've got this. So I finished eating by about 5 o'clock my time. And the next time I'll eat will probably be 6 or 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. It depends what time I wake up. And I've had a 13-hour fast. I've cleaned my teeth already. That's it. I'm not eating until tomorrow morning. And that really can help dieters. I mean, it can help in so many different ways. One is it just gives the digestive system a rest. This whole putting glucose in, dealing with fat, dealing with protein, it is too much to ask the body to do it too often. Give it a good break overnight as many times as you can. The other really powerful thing for people trying to lose weight is, when do they most likely go off the rails? In the evening. So finish your dinner by 5:30, get in the habit, clean your teeth, not eating again until breakfast, and just get in that habit. Don't question it. I won't end this and go, oh, I wonder if I fancy something to eat. It just won't occur to me because I've had my last meal until tomorrow morning. It won't enter my head. And that's how you want to be if you're trying to manage your intake. You don't want that voice in your head going, oh, do you fancy some potato chips? Do you think there's any in the cupboard? Don't let it take hold. Just shut off the debate. You finish for the day. You eat again tomorrow, and you then don't have all the bad things that you eat in the evening.
Today's a bit of an atypical day with this interview in the evening for you, but on a typical day, when will you cut off your eating at night? When will you typically finish dinner?
This was typical actually. So, I mean, if you'd have said, um, 4 to 6 my time, I'd have said, really ideally not, because I'm gonna have that's when I would prefer to have my meal. I don't wanna wait until 7 o'clock, ideally to have it. I mean, obviously, I can be flexible, but, it didn't seem to matter in terms of is it 4 to 6 or 6 to 8 for you? So 6 to 8 is better for me. If I'm out socializing, I mean, a lot of our friends now have got into this whole early supper thing. So when they come to us, they come for early supper. So they will, we don't necessarily have it at 4:30, which is what Andy and I would have almost every day. We'll have our main meal at 4:30. But if they're coming round, they're coming round for supper at sort of 5:30, 6 o'clock. Whereas dinner parties tend to be sort of 7:30, 8 o'clock. But you get a lot of feedback from people saying, actually, do you know what? I quite like it. Because you can then have a really nice sort of 6, 7 hour dinner party and you're still on the right side of midnight. Whereas you start having your meal at 8 o'clock. I mean, we did have one on Saturday night that was a 8 o'clock start. And of course, we're still eating cheese at 2 o'clock in the morning and seeing where the next bottle of wine is coming from. But people enjoy the early supper when they get into it. Try it. Clearly, you get home from work, it's more difficult, but nothing's impossible. We can do things that help our patterns if we put our minds to it.
Talk about breaking the fast in the morning. It sounds like you do that quickly after you get up. Talk about what that meal would be and what are the other meals and the spacing throughout the day.
Okay, I do like to eat breakfast. There are people who don't like to eat breakfast. I've always enjoyed breakfast. It's in many ways it's my favourite meal of the day. What we used to do when we had a rescue dog, she sadly passed a couple of years ago. But the first thing you need to do when you get downstairs is walk her, because she needs to go out and have a comfort break. But we take her on a pretty decent walk, particularly when she was younger. So it'd be 45 minutes, come back, and then have breakfast. Because we don't have her now, we do it the other way around. So we go downstairs. Hubby has might be leftovers from the night before, bacon and eggs. He's very much the natural carnivore. I'm not. You might have realized in your research that I was veggie for 20 years. So I find it particularly difficult to eat meat in the morning. I could have scrambled eggs and smoked salmon. I would enjoy that, or just scrambled eggs or an omelette. That's fine. But far more likely, I'll have a big portion of full fat Greek yogurt with some berries. I try to pick the berries in the autumn, put them in the freezer, and then eke them out over the year. I might have a piece of fruit. I quite like oranges, or if something's in season, the apples from the garden. We have fig tree if they're in season. I'll have those. And then I like milk. I like dairy. So I have a sort of cappuccino that or latte, whatever, that's bigger than me. I mean, it's probably I don't know, like 3/4 of a pint of milk or something. So there's a lot of dairy. Um, then when COVID hit, we don't have to go into that, but Andy and I were not impressed with this whole lockdown thing. It's like the world has gone mad. So we decided we had to do something that was going to be nice because we were only supposed to be 3 weeks, remember, to flatten the curve. And I've got a really good chocolate mousse, which is melted dark chocolate, a dash of vanilla, dash of rum, dash of coffee, eggs, cream, basically. So I said, sod it, I'm doing my chocolate mousse. So then we have chocolate mousse now when we get back from the walk. So that is going to come up to 4 occasions of eating. Lunch is just whatever's around. Might be an omelette, might be eggs, it might be leftovers, bowl of chili. And then the main meal is in the evening. And that's a big bit of red meat or oily fish. Andy's always red meat. He's not a fish man. We do like veg, we grow salad. So we'll have a really attractive super salad or some stir fry veg. Cheese, I've got great local farm that delivers cheese to the door. That's dairy again. I love my dairy. And then we might have more yogurt, chocolate mousse. It's depends. Um, Cream and berries or something. Just if we're still hungry, but we're usually not. But I mean, because of all the fat that's in throughout that, I mean, most of my fat is coming from dairy, cheese, cream, milk, full fat yogurt. And I guess most of Andy's energy is coming from meat. He's a real lamb, steak, bacon, eggs. He could easily be carnivore, but I couldn't.
If you enjoyed that clip, you're going to want to head over here and catch a full episode. I'll see you over there.
There are no essential carbohydrates whatsoever. None. Zilch, zippo. Telling people to have at least 55% of their diet in the form of the one macronutrient that we don't even need is the starting point that's wrong. You think snacking on an apple is super